Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 90th edition of Cinema Effect, the Big 9-0. Wow, I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Disney's number one hater, Jaden.
Hello.
And the Uber wench, aka Fitzy, aka Liam.
Hello.
What is a wench?
That's a great question.
It's like an old term for like a woman, like a kind of hag type thing, or is it?
Well,
Yeah.
I don't actually know, but it's funny. So I have this username on Lee Chess, right, which is chess website.
Yeah.
And I was playing someone from the UK or something. They asked, and I looked up because I don't know, but the name doesn't come from that. It actually comes from. So there's this German name called Übermensch, and I just changed the spelling and made it Überwench. I just put a W in there, like. So there wasn't a lot of thought gone into it.
But it's like,
Yeah,
it's sort of...
Übermensch is like a philosophical term. Like it was Nietzsche.
Ah, cool. God, that actually... Is that relevant to Wall-E, you know? It might be.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Suffering. Wench is like a derogatory term, right? I've sort of always interpreted it that way, personally.
It sounds derogatory, though. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we talk about and review a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is Wall-E. I really struggle with this one, with this pronunciation and just the way that I am meant to enunciate it, to be honest. But anyway, Wall-E, yeah. It's obviously meant to be, it's meant to channel the name Wall-E, but just with the hyphen in it, like I just can't say it that way, you know? I have to say Wall-E like I'm dumb, but anyway. It opened in the US on the 27th of June, 2008. It was directed by Andrew Stanton, who's a Pixar favourite over there, directed many films there. It is an animated adventure film, and the synopsis says, in the distant future, a small waste-collecting robot inadvertently embarks on a space journey that will ultimately decide the fate of mankind. Neat. Have you seen this before, Jaden? I think we've all seen this film.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in many years, though. Like, I think literally over a decade. Yeah. So anyway, what did you think of it, Jaden?
Like, this is one of those films that I just can't fault, but, you know, I'm not going to give it a perfect score. You know, I think it is just traditionally Disney, you know, Pixar type of film in that, you know, you take an object, you imbue it with emotion, and then you tell a story about it. And I think they tell a fantastic story. You know, I love the world they create, this kind of Adam Punk style. I love the characters. You know, they're very brief introductions, but they're effective, and you kind of get into them immediately. Yeah, I don't know. I love everything about it. Yeah, sure.
Oh wow, that ended up like way more positive of a statement than I thought. What is Adam Punk? What is that?
Oh, it's like a sci-fi style. Like it's like cyberpunk, but this is Adam Punk. Like Fallout is Adam Punk. It's kind of
right.
So it's like taking like 50s and 60s kind of aesthetics and ideals, and then taking them to the future. Like a lot of Philip K. Dick stuff is Adam Punk. You know,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what Earth is in this. So yeah, I get that. Fitzy, what about you?
Yeah, I had a great time. It was super great. The whole film was very just entertaining, scene by scene, and I just love the musical element, and the sounds in general are really great, and the themes are there. They're not too hammered on or anything, but they're kind of a good backup to the whole, you know, the story that's going on in the foreground and those entertaining scenes, and it's great. Yeah,
I'm surprised. I think I like it the least here. I appreciate this movie more than I actually love it. You know, like it's cute and it's a sweet movie and it's good, no doubt, and has a really cool subject matter that I really like. But in terms of my engagement watching it, this never really, for me, gets beyond endearing. You know, it's like I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, this is cute, I like this. And that's sort of it. It never really goes beyond anything of like true emotional investment or like I'm riveted by this film in any way. It's sort of like, yeah, you know, I enjoyed going through it again, but it's sort of not one I think I would revisit often, you know. But in terms of things to appreciate, like for me, I'm glad you already mentioned it, Fitzy, and Andy mentioned it in his review as well, but which we'll get to. I really appreciated the sound in this film. It feels and sounds really lonely. I mean, in that first 15 minutes, it does a great job at sort of putting you in the position of someone, or as the audience of an Earth that's been abandoned for 700 years. And the transition, I love the use of all the 60s. Is it 60s or 50s? Is it one of the two? I don't really know.
I don't know. It feels very like 50s, I guess.
Yeah, I would have said 50s, but can't really make the distinction, to be honest. But that sort of style in old music, I love the use of that. And especially in the first minute when we come in with that song, and then it sort of just fades out into nothingness but wind and the establishing shots of wherever we are on Earth, that city. I think that stuff's really, really well done.
Yeah.
I really, really dug that.
Yeah, like the sound design of the movie is really great. Like I just thought just now, like with Pixar films, like they usually are, but the fact that you have like very minimal dialogue is kind of like it like enhances the sound design because it's more at the forefront, I guess.
For sure.
But like the way they use that song in the film is really great. Like there's that scene where he's like running with Eva, and like all the robots come along because they hear the song, and like that's just a hype moment, you know. That's like there's a lot of those moments where they use the themes over and over again in different ways, and like just the sounds in general are really great, all the space sounds and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like I remembered the opening of this film quite well, actually, and the fact it had no dialogue. For some reason, I remember it being, maybe as like a 10-year-old, I thought it was excruciating sitting through no dialogue, because I remember it being like more of the movie than it actually is. I remember for some reason it being like an hour long where there's nothing, but it's not that. It's like half an hour maybe. But yeah, like going back to it now, it sort of made me realize I really liked it. It made me realize that I think I get the most out of these films when there is a lot of dialogue and character development, and that is sort of what I like most about them. But nonetheless, though, like the choice to have no dialogue in this film, in this family film that 8-year-olds are going to go and watch, and we did as 8-year-olds, like it's bold, and I really appreciate that. And the trivia I've got here is that to explore the possibilities of pure visual storytelling, Andrew Stanton and the Pixar team watched every single Charles Chaplin and Buster Keaton, I don't know who Buster Keaton is, movie, both short films and features, every single day during lunchtime for about 18 months. And you can tell they're really channeling that like silent film energy in a lot of this, which again, I think it's different. I think it's cool. I really like that about it. Jane laughed at me for not knowing who Buster Keaton was. Is he just like, he's an actor, right? He's just like Charles, movie actor?
Yeah.
He was like the big stunt guy in the 30s or whatever, 40s, 30s,
20s, 30s, yeah.
60s, 50s? Anywhere?
I don't know how long he lived, yeah.
Yeah.
But his most prolific era was, 20s, 30s.
Right, yeah. Did you like the lack of dialogue, Jane? Were you...
Mm.
How does that work for you on an engagement level,
I like the lack of dialogue, but I don't like how they compensated it at the beginning with, like, this just chunk of exposition in that kind of, like with that bit of Fred Willard where where he's giving that address about, we have to leave Earth and what, or like something about B&L company, like they use like this, 2-odd minute segment as Wally drives past and just dump everything.
Yeah.
And obviously, you need to communicate your story somehow if you're not going to have an actual conversation, but it just felt too much. But no, I think the lack of dialogue is fantastic. I love the way that, that Wally is so expressive just with his eyes and the way he interacts with the cockroach. It tells so much about his personality so quickly. And even, later on, when it's just him and Eve and they're just saying their names and shit. And I don't know, I love it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's the thing, is that they were going for pure visual storytelling, and that's what they, put themselves in that position to achieve that, and they're kings at animation, and that's what they have to do. They have to convey their story and the emotion of the, or at least of the main robot characters, through just visuals only. And you're totally right, they nail it. I love the Wally's like a binocular eyes, whatever they are, they're great. And so expressive. And these are iconic character designs, I think, at this point, no doubt. Like Wally and Eve, like those two characters have really like stood up. I think they stand out on any, so like, when people talk about like silhouetted characters and you can tell who they are, like they're really good designs like that, I think, as well. I actually also, I mean, in terms of sound, I really liked the two lead performances a lot, and just the way, of course, like it's mainly sound mixing and the way that's done there, but they have a lot of personality too, and the way that, like Jaden says, they just say their names to each other, like that's basically all they do. But yeah, I don't know, it has so much personality. I love the way he says Eva and she says Wally. It's like it's just great. It's just great. You have to see the film to know what I mean. But I had no idea that Ben Burt voiced Wally, which is the weirdest thing. That is so funny to me. Ben Burt, of course, creator of all Star Wars sound design and the editor of the prequel trilogy. It's so weird that he's like the voice of Wally in this movie. When the credits hit and I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's weird. But good on you, Ben. You did a great job recording into a microphone and mixing your own voice there. It was good. I mean, early on as well, how'd you guys feel about, I mean, we talked about the expressiveness of the animation, but I really liked, from a direction standpoint, the way that they were trying to use cool camera movements and zooms and stuff in animation. I noticed it and I thought that's pretty ambitious. I liked it. Did you nodded? You noticed it, Jaden? Or
yeah, I thought it was quite weird though, actually, because like they kind of use the same technique like 3 or 4 times, like rather, in a like rather close progression, and like each time, like maybe it is just because it's animation, but it kind of drags you out of it because it's like it's a very almost documentary like feel, I guess, in the way that you focus on something and then you kind of pan to your subject, kind of felt a bit B-rolly. Yeah, I thought it was interesting for sure. Yeah.
No, it is weird. I agree, but I like it personally. Like, I actually had this moment, I don't know, a few months ago, where one of the Shrek sequels was on TV, and it was just muted. I wasn't watching it in any capacity, and I just sort of was looking at the screen for a little bit, and for some reason it stood out to me when you're not watching these films with sound and you're not like invested in the story or anything, like how static the direction was in this scene I was watching. Like it was the scene in Shrek of the characters talking and the camera just does not move at all. And like everything's blocked in a way where like all the characters are standing sort of in the same space and there's just nothing happening direction-wise there in that scene except just the animation of the characters expressing themselves. You know what I mean? So it made me that stood out in my brain, and then it made me appreciate this film where it's like they're trying ambitious like live action style direction techniques and stuff that I think is really cool and actually does add to the film. But the other weird thing was, how'd you feel about like something that I obviously didn't notice when I was younger, like actual the live action elements in the film, like having the president or the people at the company like in live action in the film? Did that take you guys out of it at all? I thought it was weird, but it was cool, I guess.
Yeah, that was very strange.
I think it's meant to be like off-putting though in a weird way, but
yeah, I guess maybe because it's been like a long time, I guess. So like,
yeah.
Like the zooms at the start and stuff. It's like on Earth before he goes to space. Like it does give like a documentary film a feel, as you guys said. But like, is that stuff in the film later, or is it more? I guess it's just different techniques, but it's not the same, right? Because I feel like at the start of the film, the documentary feel is definitely there, but then it kind of disappears, which is fine, I guess, because you're kind of like the documentary is almost like the exposition. Like it's like you're learning about Earth in that, and Wally in that opening. But yeah, it does kind of disappear.
I think later on it employs the same kind of technique, but it's just in an action context, so it feels different. So I think, if I remember correctly, like the scenes where like Wally and Eve are running away, like it cuts like it'll cut like a wide shot and it's like all people and robots in the ship. And like the camera will like search for them for a bit, like it'll start somewhere and then search for them. Yeah. And like it's the same kind of thing where it starts somewhere and then ends up on your subject, but it's just in that action context, it's feels different.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you guys are totally right. Like in the first half an hour, using those techniques makes it feel like a documentary. Totally, that's what it does. Not so much, when we're following like 80 robots all chasing each other and shit.
It kind of feels like a locking device though in that way, doesn't it? Like a surveillance camera. Like it'll like look at a person and it'll go like too far in one direction, then it'll try to like tilt back in the other direction.
Yeah.
And like lock onto it, you know?
I'm always so fascinated by that in animation because obviously, it's all, there's no camera, you know what I mean? So I just find that so strange sometimes when I read in the trivia that some of the team like used a certain film camera or something that sort of replicated how they wanted the film to look and feel, and they sort of used it and practiced with it and stuff to sort of inform the way they were animating the film. But nonetheless, like I find that so fascinating when you like try and the idea of replicating on-set camera movements completely digitally is sort of like a concept that I can't wrap my head around, you know what I mean? I can wrap my head around like designing character models and making them talk and shit, but I can't like the camera stuff, like that's beyond me. I think it's crazy. And in terms of the live action stuff, like the 50s elements are really cool. I think it does a great job at making humanity as we know it feel really distant and feel like that was a long time ago, and I think that's a very cool choice to use those elements in like the songs, and then of course like I don't know what old movies they were that they were playing on the TV, but whatever those movies are, because it'd be one thing if it was like Wall-E watches Mission Impossible 3, you know what I mean? To like look back at the old days of human history and stuff. But as a modern audience, that sort of doesn't hit in the same way as using stuff that's sort of older to us too. So that was cool. But then, I don't know, like the weird president guy was weird. It was weird for sure, but 700 years, that's a long time to be on that goddamn spaceship, I can't believe that. There had been, like, the fact that the most I enjoy the movie is when we get to the Axiom, I think, in terms of just a moment-to-moment level and seeing how the human race has evolved or I guess depending on your opinion, completely devolved into this point where 700 years there has been no advancement in society at all. And I really like that idea thematically and where that takes, of course, because Wall-E and Eve and their love story is sort of the heart of the movie, but then I love the choice to sort of surround that with this tale of, human survival and us as a society and like going back to Earth and all these cool things because, man, this movie painted a real picture of when you remove so much, I don't know how you want to phrase it, suffering or basic inconvenience from the human experience, how that is, it's so interesting to pose that to a younger audience and to sort of realize, wow, this shit sort of sucks, right? Like no one, who wants to live like this? That's what I took away from that aspect of the film and I really enjoyed about it.
Wait,
and I assume the filmmakers are sort of doing the same.
Can you summarize that for me? Because I think I got kind of lost in what you were saying.
That was totally my fault if you did. I'm so sorry. I'm just saying I think it's really cool that they choose to focus on, wow, look at humanity in 700 years if we all get fat and lazy and it evolved to such an extent where we don't need to like worry about anything, and look how terrible that actually is, That's what I take away from it anyway, and I think that's sort of the idea, but I think it's cool to focus on that in a children's film, a family film, and it sort of gets my my cogs turning personally, because no one is happy on this ship, right? Like that's it looks terrible, drink out of smoothies and shit. I think it looks awful,
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is an argument to be made for it. I don't know.
I mean, as long as they never think about it, as long as they never have to think about it, then
right,
they'd be happy.
Yeah, it's almost a Matrix-like situation where they're just glued to their screen.
Well, sort of is, yeah. Yeah, if they don't realize they're unhappy, I mean, because there's that. Actually,
and then they wake up from the screen thanks to Wall-E, and then they're all happy again.
Well, pretty much. I mean, dude, there's that scene that I find hilarious where, like, this, I don't know, one of the lady who's like Skyping her friend or some shit, and like Wall-E turns off her screen, and it takes her like 40 minutes to like understand that something's happening physically in her space. Like when she's like looking around, we get like the first person perspective shot, and it's like, oh, there's actually a thing There's a robot Wall-E thing there, you know? And it's like, wow, these people are really that ingrained in their nothingness, you know, in their screens or whatever. Like, I thought it was sort of poignant. It was funny as well. Did that make sense in the end? I just want to make sure I'm not totally...
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's not instilling a lot of confidence, but okay.
Well, like, the robot, the thing that runs the ship,
Auto.
is like...
Yeah. I keep thinking he was saying Otto, but I think it's auto, as in autopilot.
Auto, yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Like, like the reason that he doesn't want to like put the plan in to go back to Earth is because of his like instructions, because it's like his automatic, you know, his automatic like reason not to do something, and like the whole ship is kind of like in auto mode as well. Everything's like runs itself, I guess. Yeah, like humans are in auto mode and everything's auto, which is kind of I think what it's saying about, you know, whatever you want to call it, climate change or whatever, like end of the earth stuff. Like people were probably just in auto mode, and then that stuff happened. I
mean, yeah, well, that's it. Like we lose agency in this scenario, you know. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, there are many angles you can sort of take with it. Like, yeah, climate change, 100%. Of course, that's literally what happens. And also just like even if you didn't want to take the intergalactic sort of perspective on it in terms of like us leaving Earth or whatever, like you can just look at it as taking that angle out of it. Like, oh yeah, like AI and shit. You know what I mean? Like if we're living here on Earth, we advance to the point where we have robots do everything for us. It's sort of the same scenario anyway. We're just not on a spaceship, you know. And it's sort of, it is, you know, and there's parallels, of course, to be drawn with smartphones and all that sort of shit if that continues to progress. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I find it quite relevant and interesting, personally. You mentioned, Fitzy, that moment to moment, like you just enjoy the film, you know, which is a dumb thing to say. Yeah. But, I mean, in terms of, like, the sort of, I guess, antics that the machines get up to and the characters and, like, because for me, that's where I sort of zone out of the film, you know, where... Like, I don't know if it's bad at all. Like, it's all beautifully animated and has personality, but I'm sort of, like, sitting here 2 days after seeing the movie again, like, I sort of can't specifically remember any one moment, you know what I mean? It's sort of forgettable, in my opinion. I actually sort of vaguely remember that, wasn't there that one moment where, like, oh, Wall-E thinks that Eve is getting decapitated in the next room, and then, like, that was sort of a key moment. I remember that. But then, like, everything else in that blob of the film there sort of escaped me as soon as I finished it, you know, but that's just me anyway.
Yeah, I don't know why it's different this time, but I think usually that was my problem with the film. When we like get to the spaceship, it's kind of a bunch of like cutesy moments, but
yeah,
I don't know, I enjoyed it this time. I don't know why. Like I used to think this was kind of overrated and people like harp on it a lot in its themes, but I think it's like a very entertaining film.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. God bless the captain. I've just got to say, God bless that man. I respect him greatly. I love I love like the way the film focuses on the progression of the captains and their photos throughout the years and like the evolution of that. I thought that was a really cool little detail they threw in there. But
oh yeah, like this film, I think it's filled with like cool details. Like in the first, like, when Wally's on Earth in the first 20 minutes, like, you see the B&L signs everywhere, and sometimes, like, you don't even... It's, like, a really, you know, like, shadowed, like, into the background. And, like, yeah, it's just everywhere, pretty much. But, like, yeah, stuff like that, like the captain's photos and, you know, all the details of the robots and everything, and... Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, totally. And that, I mean, didn't even think really to mention B&L, but that's sort of the corporate angle is another thing to sort of look at this film with, where like everything is sort of on the Axiom is, you know, branded B&L, and it just comes across like this real, I don't even know how to put it into words, but everything's branded B&L. Everything's like a product on this ship, you know, we're just consumers in the purest sense of the word. That's literally all we do at that point, you know.
It's almost like if, you know, this studio that was established, you know, 80 odd years ago, all of a sudden started, you know, buying up the industry and then started, you know, monopolizing their businesses and, and kind of taking over everything and flooding the market with their products and only producing their ideology and, what they want. And
Are you talking about Amazon? Oh.
It's sort of like, they create a streaming service and where we all walk around with tablets and just consume their television programs, their amazing original series. Yeah,
the 27 movies they pump out of a series in 10 years' time, and
it's real funny.
They're in the serialized way of production, and there's no integrity for original IPs anymore.
Yeah. Well, this is hitting close to home right here, man. I mean, I'm actually glad you mentioned the villain, Fitzy, the steering wheel, Auto. The steering wheel. This villain, the movie of oh my god, the villain of this movie is a steering wheel. By the way, just so you know. But I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because I actually wrote a note as I was watching it. I was like, why is this steering wheel doing this? Why is it evil? Like, if anything, you think like in movies, the robot is the one that wants to follow protocol exactly, and the protocol is at this point, you use the plant, bro. You know what I mean? You go to Earth. Is it not, or is that? Does it get overridden by technicality? Is that what happens?
Yeah, like that's what they say. Like they're like when Fred Willard sends out that second message 5 years after, I think it shows that the robots don't that no matter how advanced they are, they lack critical thinking. In that they're told never return to Earth, and that overrides all. So then so that becomes his main directive.
That makes a lot of sense. I actually forgot about the second message. That's totally true.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But like in terms of the film's themes, like I appreciate you bringing that up. Like it being named Auto, that makes a lot of sense. The human race.
Yeah, well, I was actually wondering like what is going to be the villain's like reason, and the fact that it's just like an order from a long time ago is like it's pretty good. Like just as a it's not evil or whatever. It hasn't turned rogue or something.
Right. Exactly. So that's one thing I actually appreciate now in this conversation more than I did when I was watching it, for sure.
Oh, I didn't even realize that it was like it's an ode to like Hal from 2001, and it uses the classical music from 2001 when the captain is like going on up against it.
When he stood up?
Actually, I think it's like Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which is like also a Nietzsche book, so it's funny that keeps coming up. But yeah, that scene where he like goes up against it, which is a good scene.
It is a great scene. I thought it was, and it was well built up too. Like I just thought it was funny how in the entire film, like humans are just turtles in the sense that they fall down and they just can't. We physically can't stand up. That's where we've gotten to, which I think is like it's great in that it's sort of played for. It's funny, you know what I mean? Seeing all these like at the end when all these human beings are just like flopping around the floor, like it's funny, but it's also like very deeply, at least to me, like concerning, and like unsettling at the same time that we can't walk. So like this dude like standing up. I got again. The captain's the MVP of this movie. I love him. He's great. That you can't grow pizza. You can't do that. Just so you know. I don't think he understood that, but he's great.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, like, there was, like, a scene where they explained that they were, like, losing bone mass or something. You saw, like, their skeletons. So, like, when they get back to Earth, are they just screwed? I don't know. Have they been living on, like, lower gravity or something?
Well, yeah. Did they say something about that, don't they? I can't remember. I guess it works out fine.
Yeah, like it was about like living in microgravity for 700 years, like shrinks your bones and then you become fat. Like it's not actually that they're unhealthy. It's just that like their evolution has got to that point.
Right.
But like they can like train their bones, or like they can, like we see at the end they're still walking, but like, they can do it at Earth, but like it's just a bit difficult.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like in this movie, there's always hope. Like even after 700 years of humans doing literally nothing in the universe, like there's always a chance to go back and rebuild. It's great. It's a great message. It's a great message.
Well, like DNA takes a long time to change. So if they had kids, they'd be perfectly fine. Like their bone structure would be the same as like as humans used to have, probably. Because like your bone structure changing wouldn't change your DNA. I don't think.
Oh, I see. Right. So
Yeah,
just get down there, dude. As soon as they got down there, you just got to start procreating real fast, and then all the kids can do all the work and shit.
they'll be healthy.
They-
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's great. One aspect of the film, I must say, like right at the end, that I really didn't need, was the whole like Wally. Oh my god, he forgot who he was, guys. He forgot. He forgot Eve, and then his memory is restored. Didn't need that. That's like such a tropey thing to do at the end of your film, especially with like robot characters.
But that's the entire the director said. The main theme is that love conquers all, and it can even overcome programming or logic or whatever.
Oh yeah,
So like it's kind of
necessary in that sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It just felt tacked on to me right at the end. Like it didn't feel. I don't know. Like it felt like we've done it. You know what I mean? Earth's good. Everyone's back here. There are plants. That's terrific. And then, oh, by the way, Wally forgot who he was for 3 minutes, but then 3 minutes later he doesn't. It's fine. It just felt tacked on in my opinion. Maybe it's a nitpick. It was sort of just. I would have liked that to be more ingrained in the story, maybe somewhere in the middle or something. But one thing I did really like about the ending was the evolution of the credits. The credits were great. Like seeing the art and the different, like the caveman drawings into the different 2D art styles and stuff they were going with. Like every little scene, like it was great to see them sort of like telling the story of humans repopulating Earth as well. Like that was cool in itself as a little mini story. Then like from an artistic direction, using the different art styles and stuff, I thought was really cool.
Wasn't there like 80 like animated shots for just the credits alone? Like 80 CGI shots were made exclusively for the credits.
Oh, I didn't see that, but that sounds right. That's yeah, I love that. I love that stuff. I mean, that's actually, to be honest, that's one thing the MCU does pretty good. I mean, Disney as a whole, honestly, like they appreciate they put the effort into credits. Just so you know, Jaden, the name Wall-E or Wally, I keep doing that. I'm sorry, is a tip of the hat to Walter Elias Disney, who
Scumbag. Jew hater.
Dude, when I read this, I was like, "Oh, Walter Elias Disney, is that Walt Disney's son or something?" I'm such a dumbass, dude. I'm such a dumbass. I actually typed it into Google, and then it just came up as Walt Disney. I'm like, oh, intelligence 100 right there. And I mean, the only other trivia really is that, of course, we get the most obvious A113 reference that they've ever done in this movie. They just like literally just say it and have it on the screen like 5 times. So there's also that.
Oh wow, this is a real tangent. But didn't Steve Jobs, did he help create Pixar? Is that true?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think he was the owner or something before he sold to Disney. I think that's what it was.
Okay. Like is that when he like got kicked out of Apple and he owned Next and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know the timeline on it exactly, but that sort of might fit, or maybe he was already back at Apple. I don't know, but there's something like that, I think.
That's pretty crazy. He just, he made Apple and then he wasn't at Apple, so he just made Pixar, in his free time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got a couple spare hours a week. I'll just, completely innovate on CG filmmaking.
Oh, but there was actually an iPod in this, and like that's where Wally gets sees the movies, the dancing. He like magnifies the iPod.
Like really?
iDevice. It looks like an iPod or like something like that. But like, yeah, he uses this massive magnifying thing. Because I thought it was like a TV, but you see it at the side, it's like this little thing.
Oh, it's not. I thought it was just like a CRT TV.
Nah, I thought it was too. But,
oh, okay. I didn't notice that. That's cool.
I for like the past 20 minutes, I've heard some like kind of ringing in my ear. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, took that thing off and I was like listening for like any like kind of thing. And then I just realized now that I have music playing in the background and like it's been like going and like it's been there and it's been annoying me like what the hell's happening, and like it was on like 2 volume and I just couldn't tell. I was like, oh shit.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
Yeah.
My rant about the film's themes actually would make sense if you didn't have the music in your ear.
Yeah, for sure. I was getting mixed messages, yeah.
I really like the score as well. I should say that. I did enjoy it quite a bit. It was sort of epic, actually, to be honest. Like it wasn't as subtle as I might have thought it would be. Like, especially, I mean, they're doing a space film, so it sort of carries that weight with it. But I enjoyed it. I thought it had cool, tense moments as well, sort of towards the end.
Like the film didn't feel dated in its CGI, I guess.
Right.
Whereas I felt like when I watched The Incredibles, it did feel a bit of its time. So
Yeah.
Oh, it always trips me up because I'm aware that this is like a 2000s Pixar film, but it feels like it's one that was released much later to me. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah, thank you. But like, I don't know. It doesn't really feel like it fits with Pixar at the time. It feels like it'd be like a more modern release, like squash it in between, like Inside Out and Soul, and like
Right.
Yeah,
that's true. I feel like Pixar, at least in sort of the last 3 years, has sort of been on a run of original films. Yeah, I mean at that time you sort of think of them more for sequels. That's true. And yeah, the animation just totally stands up. I mean, it's not as good looking as their current films, obviously, because it's 10 years ago. But I mean, that's the crazy thing to me is that so this released in 2008, right? Like literally 10 years before this, we were dealing with, in terms of Pixar's output, we were dealing with Toy Story and A Bug's Life. Both movies that, solid movies, of course, but don't look great by today's standards. And it's just crazy to think how far they came in those 10 years, to the point where now 10 years on from WALL-E, or from WALL-E, 10 years on again, it's sort of like, obviously technology has progressed and things look better than WALL-E does, but WALL-E still holds up. It's sort of like they went from like, and then 10 years before Toy Story, like there was nothing. So they went from like nothing to something that sort of is dated to 10 years later to something that still holds up. And it's sort of like they've reached their, like they did it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if in 20 years WALL-E's going to look shit. I don't think it will. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's one of those weird things where they sort of perfected the agelessness of the CG fairly quickly in its development. I think it's pretty neat. I can get into Andy's review for WALL-E. Brief review, guys. It's a brief review. I appreciate that, Andy. You know how there's that one film we want to sit through again, but you have to watch it on mute and write down a list of all the sounds you think there will be in every scene? No, I've honestly never thought to do that in my life, but that sounds like a really cool thought exercise. WALL-E is one of those films for me, for sure, perhaps for the first act that was set on Earth. A film without much dialogue and crisp sound mixing accompanied by its magically eloquent animation. Can't believe it took me this long to finally watch this fairly groundbreaking Pixar film. This is my highest rated Pixar film yet as well, 8 out of 10. Wow, cool. Up is overrated. Wow, he had to just like toss that in right at the end.
Throw a wench in the works.
I can't believe it.
A wench.
Throw a wench in the works. Put that on a shirt. That'd be a top seller for our merchandise. Thank you, Andy. That was great. I've personally never wanted to sit through a film on mute, but I actually kind of like that idea. That sounds interesting. That sounds like something you'd do that sounds like something you'd do at uni, like he would do in his course.
I think Scorsese does that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, I think Edgar Wright also said, like if you want to learn how to make movies, put on your favorite movie, put it on mute, and just think about how they direct the scene to get to that point. Which is kind of what you were saying earlier with like about how like Shrek and you had it on you and you're just like you couldn't.
That's actually totally true. I didn't
so,
think.
Like,
yeah.
So like
that's totally true. That did teach me like something about that. Yeah, it made me notice it for sure. All right, cool. Let's get into our final verdicts for WALL-E. Fitzy.
8 out of 10 for WALL-E. Yeah, it's great. I haven't like enjoyed a Pixar film in a while this much, so yeah, it's a really great film.
Jaden. WALL-E.
Yeah, I think this is 9 out of 10. And like like I said earlier, it's like I have no problems with it at all. It's just the number doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So one of the words are more important than the number.
That's right.
Like usual, but
right.
Yeah.
Man, I really want to give this film a 7.5 so bad. You know what I mean? But I just can't. It's against the rules here. I'll give it an 8. I was coming in thinking I was definitely in the mind frame of a 7, but talking about these things and me going on my long rant, I apologize. actually made me appreciate. It's one of those many situations doing this show where I appreciate the film more talking about it. So I'll give it an 8. I think it's great. All right, let's get into news chat. Let's do it. We had this trailer for Moon Knight. Pretty extended trailer, I must say. I feel like we got a fair bit out of it. This is the new, of course, MCU show with Oscar Isaac starring as the titular character. And I don't know anything about Moon Knight at all.
Can you say that again?
Did I add one extra syllable?
I think you did.
Titular?
Titular.
Oh, titular. I added an extra TI, didn't I?
Yeah.
My apologies. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks for calling me out. As the main character, Moon Knight. It's coming out in March, actually, which is sort of, I don't know, I feel like this snuck up on me. I kept thinking, oh, Moon Knight, that's something that's happening in a year or something, but man, it's right here. Anyway, Jane, what do you think of the trailer?
I didn't watch the trailer.
Oh, boo. What about you, Fitzy?
Neither, I didn't.
Wait, what? Oh, you guys could have said so. I wouldn't have brought it up.
It's big news that needs to be brought up, you know.
It's a
yeah. Thing, you know.
I guess.
You're the only one doing your job, you know.
Yeah, I suppose. All right. Well, yeah, so Oscar Isaac is this guy who basically he's any number of film characters where he's delusional and doesn't know what's real and what's not. Basically. And I sort of got the vibe from this trailer that it's sort of like split personality sort of deal. Ethan Hawke is the villain. He sort of gave me cool vibes in the trailer. And one of the weirdest things, I'm curious about the show. The trailer was solid. Like, it didn't get me extra amped or anything, but I'm still definitely in the area of checking it out. I love Oscar Isaac. He's great. And the thing where I'm really interested about it is learning about this, giving me Marvel Batman vibes, of course, which is awesome. And it's just cool to see, I think, the first Disney Plus MCU show that's sort of based on a brand new character. Like, you know, like every MCU show thus far has been an existing character, a sequel to something, a follow-up to something, you know, like that we've already seen in the other films. Like, this is for all intents and purposes an origin movie, an origin show, you know, for the first time. So I'm interested to see it not have to be bogged down by other stuff and just tell its own story, which I hope it can do. But the craziest thing to me from the trailer is that Oscar Isaac does a British accent in the show. I was not expecting it at all. When he opened his mouth, I was like, because it was like VO at first, I think. I was like, that's not Oscar talking. And it was. It was like, what? It was weird. But then that's the other thing where he only uses the British accent in the trailer, but the IMDb synopsis says he's a US Marine. So I was like, what? I feel like he's going to be like, maybe that plays into it. Like, he's going to be different people and he's going to have different accents or something, like different personalities. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can be a US Marine with a British accent. I've never understood. I don't understand that, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested. That's for sure. Only a few months away from Moon Knight. And his costume was cool. It was like Batman, but white. So, what else we got? The Lord of the Rings title announcement, teaser trailer thing. The show is called the Amazon show, coming out in September. It's called The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power is what it's called. Well, how do you guys feel about any of it? Any of the title, the trailer? Fitzy, what do you reckon?
I think I watched the teaser. Was that just like the lava forming?
Forming the ring.
Yeah.
The ring was being forged. Which
it didn't look very medieval, the teaser. But
it looked pretty colourful, actually, didn't it?
Colourful, you reckon? I don't know.
I think so.
Well, you don't think that was coloured back in the old times?
No, but I get what Fitzy. You're right. I get what Fitzy means, though, in that like it didn't like feel like a blacksmith like forging the like it's like some medieval shit. I agree. It's
it was super CGI the thing. Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
No, but the title it should be better. Yeah, I even forgot.
Oh, you agree?
When you mentioned it, yeah.
Okay.
The Rings of Power.
There you go with the title.
Call it Second Breakfast.
So, the second age, the second breakfast, yeah.
Yeah, but do we know anything about it other than that? Well,
it's the second age. I think that's meant to be Galadriel narrating the trailer, who's Kate Blanchett. Obviously not her, not Kate Blanchett, but you know what I mean. So I assume she's like, they're old and shit, aren't they? The elves, I don't know. They can be, maybe some of them are the same, but I mean, it's just meant, obviously, as the title implies, I think it's just meant to be set in the, that original war sort of from the opening of Fellowship, where it's like, the forging of the rings sort of time. That sort of deal.
Well, like the Wheel of Time, that came out on Prime. Or like episodes have been coming out of that. I think it's similar director or creator or something. And like, yeah, I think I might have been interested in that show, but it doesn't look like the best. It looks a bit bland, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
So I can't really say, but like that show has me slightly less excited about it if this new show has like that same, a bland style, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm in the same boat. Like I was interested in that, like an Amazon adapting an epic fantasy series. There are comparisons to be made, and there were, and that show's still going. Like they're going to be running simultaneously, so to speak. Because I mean, I was interested too before I saw the pretty unimpressive IMDb scores and also just like little screenshots and clips I've seen. Like it just looks not good, which is disappointing. But the thing to point out and remember, of course, we've talked about it on the show before, but this Lord of the Rings show, the difference, and I'm going to be really interested to see how it converts on screen, and we'll probably get an idea with the first trailer, but this is the biggest budget TV show of all time. This is Game of Thrones exceeds it by like, I think, was it like almost 10, maybe that was a bit much, like 8 or 10 times exceeds Game of Thrones like one season budget. So that obviously that's insane. But I'm curious to see, it'd be tremendously disappointing to know that and then to watch the trailer and go, oh, it still looks a bit weird or a bit off, you know what I mean? Because obviously this show's going to have way more budget than The Wheel of Time, but it's also how you use the budget, so it's going to be, I'm curious about that. There's no real reason this show should look dodgy or feel dodgy, but just from a pure monetary perspective, but we have to wait and see, I guess. What do you think, Jan? Are you with us on the title or do you not care?
What was the title? Power of
the Rings of Power.
Rings of Power, yeah. No, I like my suggestion more, obviously.
Yes.
I'm not going to judge a TV show just on its title, though.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it'd be an interesting story to tell, that kind of original war or whatever. The betrayal and such.
Yeah.
I don't know. Keen, I guess.
Yeah. I think the first trailer is going to tell us, from an engagement interest level for me, is going to tell me a lot more. But I don't know, man, like, the title, I just can't with it. Like, the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. It's like, I don't know, to me, it's like Star Wars, the Wars of the Galaxy or some shit. It's like...
Star Wars, the Clone Wars, perhaps.
That's actually sort of right, yeah. It is like that. It's like, I feel like the first part of the title conveys your subtitle fine. Like, you sort of didn't need the subtitle. It's weird. But anyway, there's a Wallace and Gromit movie coming.
You actually wrote that down. Yeah.
I did, coming in 2024. I wrote it down because I don't know how you guys feel about this, if you guys like Wallace and Gromit, because I don't care for Wallace and Gromit at all. It's one of those things that completely sort of skip me by personally. So I just wanted to get like a gut check. Do you guys like Wallace and Gromit?
Yeah, I think they're charming little movies. I like the characters. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. They're like they're all like claymation, right? They're all like, that's what they are.
Pretty sure it's claymation or like a style like done to make it look like claymation. I think it is claymation.
Actually, right. I really like that the Wallace and Gromit short with the penguin. What's it called? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Wait, I know a claymated penguin show.
The Wrong Trousers. That's a like 30 minutes. That's really good.
What I was thinking of.
You think of Pingu?
I was thinking of Pingu. Yep. I was like, wait, is Pingu a Wallace and Gromit spinoff? That's where I was at. Because Shaun the Sheep's a Wallace and Gromit spinoff, right? I think that's true.
Yeah, it could be.
I think it is. Holy shit. Anyway. Anyway, so I don't know how many of these films there have been. I think I've seen the Were-Rabbit one at some point in my life. I think I've seen that. But is this like the 8th one, or is there not that many? I don't know how many. I don't know.
Are they like a more modern series?
I think the Were-Rabbit was early 90s, wasn't it? Or am I completely
Is
off?
it that old? I don't know. I've got no idea.
Oh, but like that to me is like modern. Like
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's not ancient. You know what I mean? It's not from like, I don't know, the prehistoric 1960s or something. So,
Oh, well, yeah. Close Shave was 95. The Wearer was 2005.
oh, is the wrong
so Were
trend is the
Rabbits?
first thing.
It looks like this one called A Rural Grand Day Out was perhaps the earliest one
Oh.
in 1989
Oh shit.
on a budget of £11,000. Jeez.
That's awesome. All right, now it's time for our highlights of the week. Fitzy, what have you been watching, bro?
This show I've been watching, I'm almost finished. Looking, is what I
Looking.
said.
Cool. You're good.
Looking. And there's like these three friends, right? There's three friends like us. And they live in...
Oh, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, they're pretty good friends, actually. They're probably better friends than us. But they live in San Francisco. And it's just about their lives. And Jonathan Groff is... it's a Groff fest, you know? It's a Groff show. He's really
Sounds
great.
pretty good. Sounds pretty cool.
But like, it's super... You know, it's not essential television, but it is very nice. A very nice show about nice people.
Well done. Oh, what is it? Is it on a streaming service? Is it a certain network show? Or?
It's on Foxtel. It's not really about anything, but if you want to say it's about something, I guess it's about gay culture in San Francisco because they're all gay. So you could call it that, but it's not really about that. It's just like about their lives, I guess. It's very regular. You know, everything in the show is very regular. Regular people, regular lives, all that.
Yeah. Normal people, perhaps.
Normal people, yeah, like the Irish miniseries. I've actually seen that. Yeah.
I watched. I don't remember. Wait, did I watch one of them last week? I don't know. I got no idea what happened. But I did at some stage recently watch The Dark Knight Returns Parts 1 and 2, the animated adaptations of Frank Miller's, famous comic book. It was one of those things where, everyone goes on about, I don't read comic books, but sort of trying to dip my toes into that world occasionally. I always hear about The Dark Knight Returns, the most influential, comic ever written and all this stuff, and how it pushed Batman forward and the genre forward and all this stuff. And I've always been curious by that, just like hearing that, to the point where I was like, a few times I was like, I should buy this comic book and stuff. And then it just sort of never happened. And then they popped up on Stan, and I was like, I don't know if this was like Frank Miller wanted me to experience his story for the first time by like watching this like adaptation that was made 20 years later. But I was like, I don't care, or whatever, I'll watch these. And they're good. They're good. It's one of those things where like the story and the characters are like clearly really good, and like the comic book would probably be way better than this. It's one of those things where like the actual everything that holds it back is everything that brings it to life on the screen. Like all the execution elements is what is not great about this. Like this is a comic book I can imagine is awesome, but like the voice acting is just not good. Like, and the sound design is weird. It feels budget as you're watching it. It's got cool elements for sure, like cool animated elements, but it just feels budget. Like I think it was released originally on that that DC streaming service, whatever that was. And you can just sort of feel that, and it's sort of like, I don't know if I love this, But the story is awesome. That's the thing about it. It's like it's really cool to see like a 50-year-old. I mean, Batman v Superman like clearly takes all of its Batman elements from it. Like that's clearly. I think I've heard people say that before, but I didn't obviously know until like Batfleck and his role in that movie, and like his even down to his design and everything is just this Batman. Like this is exactly where this is from. It's a Batman who's 50 years old, who's done everything, who's retired, and who returns and comes back as an old grizzled guy who just doesn't give a shit anymore, basically. And I think as a story, that's awesome. But the film has a huge exposition problem, like, and it's one of those things where like maybe that's hard to adapt from a comic book. I don't know how maybe they act like the film does this thing where it always cuts back to news reports that are so long just to explain the story to you. And it's one of those things, maybe in comic books, like maybe in the comic, I mean, it's like a cute little interstitial that sort of works in that medium. But when you're watching it, it's like, why am I spending 5 minutes for them to just explain the plot to me on a news channel? Like, it's just weird. But anyway, so I'm sort of mixed on it. But overall, I appreciate the story. I'm glad I experienced it, you know. Jaden, what have you been watching?
Not a lot, actually.
You finished 5 seasons of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and The Defenders.
Yeah, I've actually kind of left them alone a bit. I only watched one else. Let's see. I'll talk about Halloween because I have a lot of feelings about it, and a lot of negative feelings, and I don't like being negative. I don't like shitting on things because
not at all.
No. But Rob Zombie. I watched Halloween 2, the second one in Rob Zombie's remix. I don't know if I spoke about the first one when I watched it. But these two films are just truly horrid. They're just vile films. They're just like the worst thing you can put to screen. They look horrible. The story's horrible. The dialogue's shit. The acting is poor. Like these just, and like they're taking a well-established IP and then just turning it into something it's not, like, yes, Halloween has always been a slasher, but it's never been a gore fest. And this is what it is. And he goes to efforts to make it a disgusting film. And, that's just Rob Zombie. And maybe it works in his other films. I haven't seen his other films, but it doesn't belong in Halloween. They're just hideous to look at, like truly horrible. Like, it's so washed and like so dirty and grimy, and like he insists on making it like poverty porn almost, in like the way that he revels in the fact that, like, he makes the Myers family, like in the first one, he like flashback to him and we see him again here. He makes them kind of like the poorest, scummiest, kind of rednecks that you can have. And it's just horrid. It's just such a terrible direction for the franchise to go in. Like, I don't know. It really is. Like, watching these two films was like truly some of the worst experiences I've had. Like, I've still not rated them low because I can see, an artistic vision, one that I absolutely hate, but I can see, how people find value in it. Actually, I don't. I honestly, I don't see how people find value, but I can see there's something there. But they're horrible two films. Like, if anyone ever wants to watch the Halloween franchise and think, I want to watch everything, don't watch these ones. Like, they're just dog shit. Not dog shit. I mean, dude, I don't know.
Embrace the hate. Embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just vile films, truly.
Wow. Is Jamie Lee Curtis in these?
Not in these ones.
Oh, okay. Because she came back a ton of times, I think, like for the ones that aren't even canon anymore, I think. Is that true?
Yeah, she was in the first, second, and then she was in... was she in the fourth one? I can't remember. And then she appears in H2O, and then maybe the one after that as well. I don't know. H20, rather, not H20.
That's so... Well, dude, I saw that. I saw the poster of that. I don't know anything about Halloween, and I saw it was called H2O, and I'm like, what were they thinking? Because you just want to say H2O. Like, I get the point. Yeah. It's 20 years, but like, you just want to say H2O. Oh my God. Well, that's great. I won't ever watch those now. As always, now we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what are your most anticipated films of 2022? Luke said, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, especially since there are rumours of Professor X and X-Men characters and the Illuminati. And he goes on to explain, the Illuminati was Professor X, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Black Panther, and someone named Namor or Nymor. I don't know who that is. They made powerful decisions about the safety of Earth and the multiverse. I'm excited to see if they do it with alternate versions of the characters, like Mr. Fantastic from the first 2 Fantastic Four movies. It's funny you bring that. There was that report this week. I didn't throw it in news show, but there was that report this week that John Krasinski is Mr. Fantastic in the film. Which I don't know. I feel like that's one of those fan casting things. I feel like everyone says that. I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. I got no idea. Aiden said, interested to see where Jurassic World Dominion and Avatar 2 takes us. Big hype for those movies too. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's called, what's it called again? It's
Across the Spider.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Cool. Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 is what it was called. I think that sort of happened when we were away, so we didn't talk about that in news, but yeah, that was cool. I keep wanting to say, like, because I know it's not Into the Spider-Verse. Sometimes I want to say, like, Onto the Spider-Verse or something dumb like that. But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse. There are so many. I sort of forgot about Jurassic World and Avatar too, so there are some really good choices here. Andy said, my most anticipated movie of 2022 is the Bob's Burgers movie. I'm not kidding. It's an actual thing, but it's going to be a musical. My taste in films are usually better than this. My utmost apologies. Also, massive thank you for returning for the new season. No worries, Andy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So there's a Bob's Burgers movie. I don't know anything about Bob's Burgers. And it's a musical. That sounds pretty funny. I must admit.
The South Park musical.
Oh, is there?
But I watched like the first 5 minutes of this one. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, interesting. So this isn't unprecedented for like these animated properties to have musicals.
No, well, like that is a very, like, I think it's a very popular film. So I think that kind of, the fact that exists makes it, this possible.
Yeah. Is Bob's Burgers and South Park linked, like in terms of creation? I don't know.
Is Bob's Burgers Canadian? I don't know.
Because I think South Park is a comedy. That's a comedy channel show, right? Comedy Central.
Oh yeah, and I think and isn't Bob's Burgers on Fox or whatever?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so I guess not. Okay. I had no idea. Okay. Very good. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out this year. Just in general in media. So, I mean, we've got a few choices here, I think. But Liam, what is your most anticipated movie of 2022?
The Northman, probably. Robert Eggers. The trailer came out a few weeks ago, I think. And it was very cool. Very, very cool. Alexander Skarsgård as a Viking is very cool. The visuals are very cool. And it looks exciting. Looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, I like the other two films he's made. So hopefully it'll be awesome.
This came up for me as a YouTube ad. The Northman trailer. It started, and it was like really cool looking medieval sets. And Willem Dafoe turned up, and I was like, "What is this, dude? This looks so up my alley." And then because I didn't know it was the Northman, and then I googled it, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Now this is on my anticipated list too," because I had no idea what it was. So I'm excited for that too. What about you, Jaden?
I didn't think there was, but like, because like there's not much thing on my watch list, but there's actually quite a few things coming up. But
yeah,
the one that I think I'm actually most anticipating, and like the one that I really want to watch, is called The Last 10 Years by Michihito Fuji, which he directed A Family, which is a film I watched to the latter end of last year. And it's about this 20-year-old woman who learns she's only got 10 years left to live because she's got an incurable disease, and she decides not to fall in love, but then she kind of gets obsessed with living, whatever, and like that. And, it's meant to just be soul-crushing and, make you fucking bawl your eyes out, and I'm all for that. I hope this delivers in those two departments, because otherwise I'll be disappointed.
Sure. That's great. I also want my soul crushed when I watch films. I mean, it's the Batman for me, no doubt, 100%. But yeah, I mean, I'm so stoked. Did you guys see the news that it's 2 hours and 47 minutes long?
Oh, no.
I saw that and I was like, oh shit. Okay, that's wild. So yeah, I'm stoked. It's so close at this point. It's like 6 weeks away. I can almost taste it. Yeah. I can almost taste it, So yeah, no, I'm really, really stoked for that one. But I think is the Northman pretty close too? I think it's not far.
I was just looking. I think it's close. April, maybe? I don't know.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I need to watch Robert's other films before that, but that looks good too. All right. As always, we'd love you to submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section. Send us a DM on Instagram or join their Discord. And this week, we're asking you, what is your favourite Ridley Scott film? Your favourite Ridley Scott joint? Let us know. And we'll read out your responses, as always, at the end of the show next week. That's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. But Fitzy, what are we doing next week?
Alien. Yeah, Ridley Scott. Alien. Oh, we're starting the Alien franchise.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing 6 Alien films. So buckle up.
But I was going to say strap in. Absolutely. It's going to be wild. I hope so anyway. I'm really curious about it. But yeah, all right. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Liam and Jaden, as always, for being here, and have a great rest of your week, peeps, and goodbye.